Afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk TCI Real Estate.
Good afternoon, Renika. How are you doing?
Yes, so good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk TCI Real Estate. As usual, I will please invite you to like and share the page. Today, we will be talking about community policing in the Turks and Caicos Islands, and we have a very special guest who is with us today. So, just before we get started, as usual, like I said, like, share the page, call up your friends, let them know that Let's Talk TCI Real Estate is on. All right. So last time we met, we actually analyzed the end of year market report for the Turks and Caicos real estate market. For anyone who did not have an opportunity to view that show, I encourage you to go back on my Facebook page and take a look at it. And also, you can view my YouTube channel, which is Renika Delancey, and which will have also a copy of that show for you to be able to watch. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the comments section. And if we have an opportunity, we will see if we can get one or two of your questions answered. Please bear in mind, like I said, most of it is about community policing. So there may be questions we would or would not be able to answer because we do not have the Commissioner of Police with us, but we have instead Sergeant Kevin Clark with us here today, and he's going to do his best to answer any questions that we may have. One last thing I would like to say is that today's conversation about crime and community policing, I think, is very important in the real estate industry. Working in real estate, we have a lot of questions that come about in relation to this topic, and therefore I thought that it would be fitting to have someone from the police department with us here today to enlighten us about some of the crime issues in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Crime can affect the value of homes. Crime can also be a factor if someone decides to invest, and that also can affect the livelihoods of those who are on the island. And so I believe it is a fitting conversation for today, right? So again, please share this feed with anyone as we dive down into our conversation for today. Without any further delay, I would like to introduce you Sergeant Kevin Clark, and I'm going to give him an opportunity to introduce himself to you, the listening audience. Go ahead, Sergeant Clark.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here, Mr. Lancy. Should have done it last week, but unfortunately I was unable to. For those persons who may not know me, my name is Kevin Clark. I've been a member of the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force for the past 17 years. I'm presently in charge of the Community Police Unit. I did my initial training in Nassau, Bahamas. I've worked in many units of the police force, including beat patrol, criminal investigations department, scenes of crime, intelligence unit, and also public relations department. So this is me. I'm now a sergeant in the organization and looking forward to do my best to serve you, the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Thank you so much, Sergeant Clark. I just want to say for the listening audience, it appears that the internet is in and out. So please bear with us if you see a pause or if a question is asked and not answered right away. All right, but we're gonna dive right into the questions. Okay. Of course, like I say, please leave your comments, any remarks that you may have. So, and like I said already, probably this is for Officer Sergeant Clark to say, but we do not have the Commissioner of Police on today. Therefore, some of your questions, if you ask a question that may be out of the realm of Sergeant Clark authority to answer on, it may not be capable for him to answer those questions, but please send your questions and we'll see what we can do for you today. All right. So first question I would like to ask you, how would you classify the type of crime that that have been committed on the islands for the past few years? How would you classify the crime activities?
Well, the type of crime that we deal with here in Turks and Caicos Islands, as time goes by, we've seen a little uptick in gang-related violence, crimes of opportunity. We've had to deal with a few petty crimes, and we've recently been dealing with a few murder incidents on the islands. So those are crimes that are happening more often. We also have to deal with theft and offenses against the persons.
And if I may ask, is this throughout the Turks and Caicos Islands, or is it
Yes,
particularly
throughout the
prominent
Turks and
areas?
Caicos. Yeah, throughout the Turks and Caicos Islands. So all types of crime that one can think of, including financial crimes. We've had to deal with those types of incidents, but stuff like incidents like crimes like offenses against the persons are some of the crimes that we have to deal with mostly on a daily basis. And when I speak of offenses against the persons, I mean like assaults, woundings, persons getting into fights and stuff like that, and also theft, people stealing other people's stuff. So those are some of the offenses that we mainly deals with every day. Again, we've seen a little uptick in gang-related violence, crimes of opportunity. Yeah, and those are some of the classifications of the types of crime that we have to deal with.
Okay, thank you. And I'll say this: most times we ask a question about crime, but I guess it's always good to get a comparison. To say how crime is in the Turks and Caicos in comparison to our neighbors, say in the other Caribbean islands. Would you be able to, tell us, give a comparison as to how crime is here compared to there?
Right. Yes. Normally, I've get the same questions, especially from visitors or potential visitors to our island. They're asking about the crime. I just want to make one comparison, and I'll speak about murders. Murders is the highest crime in any land, and I just want to compare to the closest countries in the region, the Bahamas and Jamaica. So far, the Bahamas have already recorded 11 murders. Jamaica have already reported 28 murders for the year. The Turks and Caicos Islands have reported one. One is too much for us. There's never murder basically means someone taking the life of another person. That is unacceptable. And I'm not saying that to give ourselves praises because we only have one, because again, taking the life of someone is a heinous crime, and we should not celebrate it. But if we were to compare, if we had to do that comparison, it goes to show you that the Turks and Caicos Islands is still the safest place in the region, or for persons to come visit and to live.
Okay, I'm happy to get those few little stats. Okay, so in your opinion, just generally, then for the Turks and Caicos, do you think that crime have increased or decreased within the past few years?
Me personally, I cannot give you any opinion on what is happening. I have to give you what is facts, and I could tell you crime have decreased. I give you up to 2019. I don't have the total stats with me. Yes, we have seen an uptick in violent crime, but overall, as it relates to those crimes that I've mentioned earlier, like the offenses against the persons, the theft, the assaults, the fighting, those crimes has decreased drastically over the years. But again, we have seen an uptick in violent crime. And those are things that the executive organizations are working on so that we could decrease those violent crime. And as I mentioned before, we had one murder so far for this year. And again, that is very concerning to us. There was a time when the Turks and Caicos Islands could have gone many years without a murder. But now we see the first day of this year, we have recorded our very first one. It is our goal to continue to do our part strategically, trying to find ways to curb crime, encouraging members of our communities to do their part and helping us to curb these violent crimes that are happening in our society.
Okay, thanks. So, what are some of the initiatives that the police department is actually doing to combat crime on the island, and how effective have these measures been since they were implemented? And
Yeah, Vernika, there are lots of initiatives that the police department have put in place to combat crime. Now, I will not mention all of them here because I must be careful of what information I put out there, and you may agree with me as well,
right,
because we have to be careful of what we're telling people that we are doing.
right,
But yeah, but we have beefed up our patrols in the community, and these patrols are backed by a patrol strategy. During these patrols, there are a number of tasks that officers must carry out in our communities. Our community policing team have also reached out to a number of businesses, giving them crime prevention tips, including homeowners. Persons must we inform persons of how to protect themselves, be mindful of their surroundings, be vigilant, and always look forward to what is going on. Now, I just want to add that when we hear about policing, most people think, well, hey, policing is it's solely the responsible combating crime, sorry, is solely the responsible of the police department. And I continuously want to tell people that, combating crime is a responsibility of all of us. And when I say all of us, I mean police and members of our community. You will agree with me that we do not have a police officer standing on every street corner or standing outside of someone's home policing it. In fact, perhaps if we had a police officer on every street corner, persons would have probably got upset and say, this is a police state. We don't want the police to be looking over us every move we make. Of course not. But the responsibility of combating crime lies on all of us. You have persons who are committing crime because there's crimes of opportunities. And crimes of opportunities arises when someone is negligent about where they are, leaving their homes vulnerable to potential criminals to get access to. Persons, on our streets walking and not paying attention of their surroundings. Sometimes you find people walking on the road on their phones, not looking where they're going. Maybe someone is lurking, someone is watching. So we want members of the public to do their part as well. Not only that, and I'm not saying all of this to put any blame game on anyone. Fighting crime, preventing and detecting crime is solely the responsibility of the police. That is our jobs. But we also want the members of the communities to do their part as well. Because again, I'm going to say this, and you might agree with me. Many of times the incident will happen. The police will come after an incident happened. Again, the police is not there when it's going to happen. The police are not there. And some of these criminals are smart. They're probably watching as the police move. Police may stop at a business place now, and then they have to go to another business place to go check it out. So these criminals might be lurking. They might be watching us. They might be watching how we move. So it is important that persons do their part. If you know something, say something. And I understand that there are persons who may be in fear of saying something, but there are we have Crime Stoppers there who receive persons' information and share it with the police. A lot of persons believe that the police is Crime Stoppers. And I could say this on behalf of the police, that the police, we are not Crime Stoppers. We partnership with Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers is a barrier between the police and the community. Let me rephrase that. Crime Stoppers is a link between the police and the community. That is to say, if anyone from the community have any information, they give that information to Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers then share the information with the police. Crime Stoppers will not ask the person who's giving the information their names or their residence or where they live. They're not interested in that. They are interested in the information. They will ask you questions relating to the information, because when they relay that information to the police need to know exactly what the information is about, who the which crime the information is relating to, because you're just giving the information. The police now have to work on getting the evidence based on the information that you have given. So some people may have a problem answering the questions from Crime Stoppers. The questions they're asking you are reasonable questions. They're not asking you questions to find out where you at. And I just want to give you a case that occurred. I can't remember the year. I think it was 2013 or 14, but you could look it up on YouTube. The director of Crime Stoppers Miami-Dade at the time, and
Okay.
Crime Stoppers Miami-Dade, they receive information from Turks and Caicos. They receive information from Turks and Caicos and a couple of other countries in the Caribbean. Crime Stoppers receive information from them for them, and then they share it with law enforcement. But anyway, Richard Maston, he was the director at the time, and there was this case that came up in court, and the judge ordered the director to give the information of the person who gave the information to Crime Stoppers. And he went to court and he told them, no, I can't do that. That is against our policy. And the judge ordered him to provide certain information, or else he will spend time in prison. Well, he went to court that day and he sat there and he chewed the information that he had. He chewed it. He rolled the paper up and he ate it. And I think he spent a night or a few hours lockup for contempt of court. And he was adamant that he will not do it because it's against Crime Stoppers policy to give information about persons who supply them with information relating to crime. So a lot of people are of the belief that if they give the information to Crime Stoppers will tell the police who they are and the police will come look for them. There's no need for that. And I challenge anyone who have given Crime Stoppers any information, if they have had the police came to them and asked them any questions. Crime Stoppers give a reward for every information that is given to them. Once there's an arrest and a charge by the police, that person who gave the information. So when you give the information to Crime Stoppers, they will provide you with a PIN code. That PIN code, you're told not to give it to anyone. So when you call Crime Stoppers again, asking them, or if you're calling them to give them any further information, they will ask you, what is your PIN code? And they will communicate with you through that PIN code, because that PIN code identifies you as the person who gave previous information. And it also identifies you if the information that you give, you're entitled to a reward. So you will tell Crime Stoppers how to pay you. If you want them to leave the money underneath a tree, if you want them to deliver the money to a pastor, whatever way you want them to deliver the funds to you, your reward for the information that you give, they will cooperate with you there. There's only been some challenges with the bank in terms of bank deposits, but you tell them how you want your your reward to be delivered to you. Crime Stoppers work. I had an opportunity to go to visit them in Miami-Dade, and even the phones, people are saying that the phones have caller ID. They use an old style phone. I took a picture of the phone some time ago and I posted it on Facebook so that people can see it. They're not, look, we want the information. We need to solve crime. Persons who are given the information, we're not interested in and knowing who you are. We just want the information. And I'm asking members of the Turks and Caicos Islands community, if you have any information, do not hesitate to call Crime Stoppers. We must find a way. We must find a way. If you know something, to say something. If you know something and you don't say anything, then you leave us in a position where other countries would be looking at us and saying that our crime rate is too high. It affects our economy. We depend on tourism. Some tourists may not want to come, depending on the type of crimes that we're dealing with. So if you know something, do not hesitate to say it. Law enforcement cannot do it on their own, and that is why we need your help.
Okay. So, because you said a lot of information within those remarks. One of the things I just wanted to point out, you were talking about Crime Stoppers. I'm happy that you brought that up, and I'm glad that you clarified how it works. And so, definitely, like you said, Crime Stoppers is anonymous.
Yes.
And it's a link to the police, but it's not the police department, and that your information is held with strictest confidence, right?
Yes.
And we started this conversation also talking about what the police department is doing to combat crime. And you were talking, you mentioned that you can't do it alone, but you also need the assistance of the community. So, so actually, in this instance, Crime Stoppers actually acts as as an assistance, like as the community trying to help combat crime with the police department. Are there any other ways that the community can partner with the police department to combat crime, other than through the Crime Stoppers that you are suggesting?
The reason why I emphasize a lot on Crime Stoppers, because one, it is an outside entity, it's not local. And people is of the view that because it's local, they might be able to easily identify who's giving the information.
Right.
And every single person in the Turks and Caicos Islands have the partnering with the police is an open door policy. If you want to give the information to a police officer, it's okay. Now, the reason why I kind of hesitant on that, because a lot of people, and you may have heard it, and I should not half step on saying that a lot of people say they do not trust the police. And it's okay. People have their views, and some people have reasons for saying that, and I respect that. But there must be a way to get the information to the police,
right?
Because we cannot live in a society where we are afraid of those criminals. And I can tell you, it's only a few bad apples. There's only a few. Most of our citizens in the Turks and Caicos Islands are law-abiding citizens, but we just have a few persons who decided that, hey, we want to cause problems. Right. And we cannot allow those handful of persons to do what they want. And not while they're doing as they want, they're putting us in fear of crime. They're putting us in fear. There are some communities, once it's dark, you don't see no one on the outside because they're afraid to come outside because of the criminal element out there. So in terms of partnering with the police department is an open door policy. And we welcome everyone. We welcome the business community. We welcome members of the communities who would love to come and speak with us. We now have a community policing department, which I am responsible for. And we are looking forward to work along with our communities. I think, and you, again, I keep saying, you may have heard this before. I've had conversations with many members of our communities, and they continuously, even on social media, we need community policing. We need community policing to be to bridge that gap between the community and the public. We need to get back the trust. Once we could get back the trust between the police and the community, we could get a collaboration working together. You could bet your last dollar that criminals will have nowhere to run. They will have nowhere to hide, because The police department have a group of men and women working, but I could tell you, our members of our community also acts as resources to us so that we can combat crime. And if we could get people on our side, we could get members of our society on our side, I could tell you, we will go back to the days when we could have slept with our windows and our doors open.
Right. Okay, I'll ask you this. I want to ask you something because you talked about the police, the community policing initiative. I want to get back to that. Before then, we have two questions that came in. I think it was more related to what you were speaking about before. And you talked about a reward with Crime Stoppers, which I
Stoppers.
know is a
Yeah.
separate entity. Someone had asked, do
Yes.
you think if there was a reward given out, persons would be a little bit more helpful? So I guess this is from the police department standpoint.
Yeah, if we think the police would give the reward instead of Crime Stoppers, is that the
Yeah.
question?
The question just said, do you think if there was a reward given out to a person, if they would be a little bit more helpful with information?
Well, first of all, Crime Stoppers give rewards. We will not, you will not hear it being published or promoted. And the reason for that is first of all, we don't know who gives the information. So we could never say John Brown received an information for assistant Crime Stoppers with a crime. And if we say John, if we say, even if we know who the person is, we can't put the person name out there because then we put that person in danger because now everyone is going to know that this person gave the information to the police. So Crime Stoppers does give out information. Give out rewards for persons, but you will not hear about it. Right. And I can tell you this though, what fascinated me about Crime Stoppers is while I was in their office, I think this was in 2012, phone calls were coming in. The operators there, they were receiving phone calls. There were persons who I think they received information from some Spanish-speaking country and persons there to speak Spanish and to speak Creole. Calls were coming in and I was fascinated that I was like, all right, maybe one day, maybe while I'm here, somebody will call from Turks and Caicos, but no, but calls were coming in. Never a time has those operators asked, what is your name? Where do you live? They will never ask that question. And if anyone called Crime Stoppers, anyone, it will never happen, I guarantee you. But if anyone called Crime Stoppers and you hear that they're asking you for your name, you could hang up the phone.
Right. Well, that's a good tip to know about. Yeah. Cool. So the other question is, are there crime watch groups in the various community throughout the island? Can you give us a little bit of information about that?
Okay. Yes. So in what the Crime Stoppers, what community policing have been doing, the unit, we have started and first of all, what we have done is we have got into communities that have neighborhood watch groups set up already.
Okay.
And these neighborhood watch groups, watch communities, what we have done, they have already been established. So what we have done, our responsibility is not to take the lead, but then to be a part. So, anything that they're doing, their meetings, any concerns that they have, we will be a part. If they're having meetings, we will be a part. If they have any concerns as it relates to antisocial activities that is happening in their communities, we will be the ones taking the lead with that to help combat it. Now, and it's important to say this, is that our main goal is to partnership with members of the community, collaborate with them to take part in problem-solving initiatives.
Right.
And problem-solving initiative has been one of the driving forces behind community policing, because many of our communities in the Turks and Caicos Islands have issues that probably not police-related, but not because they're not police-related, we should not get involved, because small things turn to big things. Okay. And if we allow those things that is an issue to the community, but not a police-related issue to continue, then one day it may become a police related issue, and that's what we have to do when we speak about crime prevention. And I'll give you a quick idea. Um, a quick example. There was a
Mm-hmm.
specific community that we went into, and the neighborhood watch group complains that there seems to be young men going into an abandoned home,
Okay.
and there's the belief that these young men are um, committing antisocial activities in there. And so, what the neighborhood folks have done, they have called the police on numerous occasions. The police would come. If they see anybody there, they will ask them to leave because it's an abandoned home. It's an abandoned home. No one lives there. But the community policing now, what my team did is we did not go in that community to look for these young boys and tell them to go home. What we did is we partnership with the community leaders. We find out who the building belongs to, and it was still under the control of a financial institution. We contacted the financial institution, and we've contacted them. And what we did is we partnership with them. We said to them, look, give us permission to board up this home, or can you assist the neighborhood to board it up so that these young men doesn't go back in there anymore? And I'll just briefly tell you, they were going in there, they were spraying graffitis, gang-related signs. You will find drug paraphernalias in there, all sorts of antisocial activities going on in there. So the financial institution agreed with us. They came, they cleaned up the property, they board up all the windows, board up the doors. Now that problem is not there anymore. Now you might be saying, what does the police have to do with this? Well, first of all, we don't know who these young people are going in there. We know what they're doing inside.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone from other neighborhoods come and they see this abandoned home, they're going to start coming around. Soon we're going to have a group of guys just hanging around there like a trap house. And then we have neighbors living there. We have single mothers living in the area. They might be victims of crime. So the mere fact that we got involved and we dealt with the situation, the persons who are living in the area, they now feel a sense of safety than before, because they didn't feel safe at all because of these people coming around. They don't know who they were hanging around in that building. So yes, we do have some, well, we call them neighborhood watch groups. We do have neighborhood watch groups in some communities. And what we're going to be doing soon, and only because of COVID, we are coming around in different neighborhoods and trying to get neighborhoods that communities that doesn't have neighborhood watch groups. We are going to get them to set up these neighborhood watch groups. Neighborhood watch works. It's important for every community to have a neighborhood watch group. I am in a few of the neighborhood watch groups on WhatsApp, and it is just fascinating to see how the neighbors work together, share information, how they can say there's a vehicle in the area, and they're saying there's a vehicle in the area. They're sharing information with everyone in just a snap. So we're going to be going in many neighborhood communities to get this set up sooner rather than later.
Okay, because you were talking about how many groups you're on, would you say that there are a lot more neighborhood watch groups that have already been established that needs to actually be done? Or do we still have a vast majority of the neighborhoods that needs to implement this strategy of a neighborhood watch?
Yes, we still have. There may be some that we don't know about as yet until we reach in certain communities. But right now, we started off in a few communities in Blue Hills, and we found already established about two groups already established that we did not have to do much with them. We just got in, introduced ourselves, exchanged numbers, and now we are involved with them. We had one who started while we were out there, and they contacted us and they invited us to their very first meeting. And we were there when they set up their community leaders and everything. We just were there we were not there to do anything, but we were just there to make sure we see that it is set up. And, they have our contacts as police officers, and they added us to their WhatsApp group so we can see every discussion that they're having. If it have anything to do policing wise, if they want any partnership in terms of they want something done. For example, this community group that started it started just as our community policing department launched. They had an issue with derelict vehicles in their area, and they believe that illegal persons are sleeping in these vehicles. So they've asked many occasions for assistance for someone to come and remove it from the department that deals with it.
Right.
And they couldn't get any help. So what we did was we got together, we drafted a letter from the police outlining the issues that this community have and what implications it can have for the police later. And we want these vehicles to be removed. And I can tell you that the vehicles were removed. So the partnership, the collaboration with the community, with the police works. And if we could get more communities want to work with us like that, we can get a lot of things done.
So, because you're talking about all of this in community policing, I'm just putting you on the spot. Is there a specific contact that we need to have that you can share with us in terms of who to reach out to if you would want, like if you have a neighborhood group and you want the police to be a part of it, or you want to be
Yes.
able to, could you share that with us?
Yes. So I'm the sergeant in the department right now. My email address is kevin.clark with an E at tcipolice.tc.
Okay, so they should reach out to you about anything community policing and getting onto the neighborhood watch.
Yes, exactly. You see,
Okay.
the strategy is basically, we want members of the public to know that the whole community is responsible for their safety and security, not just the police. And the approach goes beyond surface symptoms, in order to develop comprehensive and effective responses, not just a quick fix. And I don't know if you ever heard about the broken window concept. The
Mm-hmm.
broken window concept is that if you go into a community and you see a building with a broken glass, it basically telling you no one cares. There's this building, a glass is broken, no one cares. That's the first thing comes to your mind. And it also telling you that no one lives in that home because we have a broken glass, a
Mm-hmm.
broken window, and for a few days it have been the same. No one is checking. So it clearly shows that no one in that community cares about that building. And I believe that is why those young men see the need to go and hang out in that building, because they realize there's broken doors, there's broken windows, no one is there, so we can go and hang out there. So the broken window concept is something that we do not want. The derelict vehicles, old cars in certain areas and communities that have an X on them, but no one moved them. Those are issues in those communities that we would love to go in and enhance the beautification of these communities. Now, I'm not saying that to say that it's going to work, it's going to happen right away, but I think the emphasis is that the collaboration that you're going to get with the police and the community,
Mm-hmm.
to ask the relevant department to come and remove these vehicles, deal with these abandoned homes. I think it's going to be more forceful to see that now we have the police on board, because our task is to outline to these departments what can happen if we do not get rid of these vehicles. It's a concern to the community that they don't feel safe because we have people sleeping in these vehicles. We have illegal persons probably sleeping in these vehicles. We have young men going into these homes, hanging out, smoking, drinking, and doing all sorts of stuff. So basically, in terms of partnership, our goal is to reduce drugs and other criminal activities in the community, establish and reinforce anti-drug attitudes, social norms and behaviors, establish a community-wide network by which common concerns can be effectively addressed. And when I say effectively addressed, it goes back to dealing with the abandoned homes, the broken window concept. We want to enable communities to assume responsibilities and take control so that their neighborhoods will not collapse under the burden of social disorder, crime, and drugs. And these things are easy fixed. And the only way it can be done is if we collaborate with members of the public. We come into your communities, and all I'm asking for you to accept us. Let us have this conversation. This is not about the police coming to be forceful or to take over your community. You will be in charge, but we just want to work with you. We want to be a part of the issues that you have. It may not be a police issue. It may not be a police issue. And my thing is this: we as a police organization, we are also a part of these communities. We are also a part of these communities. It's important that we get into communities, we work together. All I'm asking is you accept us.
Right.
You accept us, we're going to come. If you accept us, we're going to be there. And even if you push us away, we're going to come again and try to show you why it's important that we need to work together. We need to curb crime that is happening in our country. We need to get back to the days when we could have slept with our windows and our doors open.
I agree with that. So,
Yes.
just one or two more questions because the time is fast approaching.
Right.
But I do like the idea of community policing, and I do agree with what you're saying is that the issue may not be police related at the time, but if you can collaborate with the police, then there may not be a need for the police presence in terms of any serious crime if you
Exactly.
partner with them from an early stage, right?
Yes.
So, and I do
Yes.
like the whole idea of the police being a part of the neighborhood watch so that
Yes.
persons are able to express their concerns that's happening in the neighborhood. And it's also a quick, I think it's a quick connection with the police if something does happen, if it can be quickly posted within a WhatsApp chat group as well.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I would like to say on that note, just basic home safety. What are some of the safety measures or guidelines that you as a police would tell us to adhere to be safe at home, and also just safety, personal safety in general? And then I'm just putting it all in one question. And also, when you
Yes.
think about even tourists who are on the island, and they are usually in the Grace Bay area, and it's a very good location for joggers. People come and they exercise during the morning or evening times. What are some of the safety tips that you would say to them to do while enjoying the island while they're here?
Yeah. Yes. So, Renika, I just recently thought of something that I had a discussion with our public relations officer, and that was how we give out crime prevention tips.
Okay.
And I went ahead and I created a document or some text to post online giving persons crime prevention tips. And what I came to realize is that who am I giving these crime prevention tips to? Yes, like I say, the majority of us in the Turks and Caicos Islands are law-abiding citizens. So if there's 99% of us law-abiding citizens, there are 1% who are not. And that 1% is also within our midst. So if I'm going to say to you, hey, these are crime prevention tips that you should abide by, then I'm giving that 1% also an idea of how to counteract that. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just want you to bear that in mind. I don't want to go in full effects, although, and the thing is, a lot of crime prevention tips are online. Again, that 99% who is looking at these tips, that 1% are looking at them as well. And they thinking, okay, if the police are telling people don't do this, they're going to do that. So we need to be over here to be ready for them when they're doing that the other way around. But anyway, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But we, in a nutshell, we want people to be vigilant of their surroundings. That is one of the things that we find a lot of people not vigilant of their surroundings. You go into the grocery store, on your way back from the grocery store, you're in your phone. You're looking at your phone, not being aware of what is happening. I don't care where you're at. You could be in a large parking lot with lots of people. You don't know who's hiding behind your vehicle or waiting for you to get in and get in behind you. You find people, when they go inside their vehicle, they just looking for the keys to, they're going through their phone, not knowing if someone could just open the passenger door or open the driver door and snatch their bags or pull a gun to their head and tell them, give me what you have. You have people who wait till they reach in front of their door at home to start looking for the keys to open the door. You need to think about these things. Get your keys ready so that when you reach to the door, you insert it and you open your door, you get in. Call someone at home. Let them know that you're on your way home to be on the lookout. Um, in terms of tourists, again, be vigilant. And I'm sure the same, we want people to understand. A lot of people say, hey, we're coming to the Turks and Caicos Islands. And of course, we are one of the safest places in the Caribbean, but that does not mean that the criminal element is not there. It's everywhere. Everywhere in the world you go, you must be vigilant of your surroundings. So tourists, always take note of where you're going. Let someone know where you're going. Ask questions of the area that you're going to before going. If you're gonna take a rental, make sure you ask your rental company about the area that you intend to go to. If it's an isolated area, if it's a public area. I know some people want to come here and they just want quietness. They want to go to a secluded area where they could just relax their mind. But just be mindful of where you're going. Let people know where you're going, so that you could be safe. And in a nutshell, I don't want to go too much in details, but what I intend to do, Danica, and I'm glad that you brought me on this show, is I want to have a Zoom meeting set up to meet with business owners to discuss crime prevention tips with them and what's best practice. And I also want to meet with persons in the community, homeowners, to have this type of discussion with them instead of just posting it on social media. So perhaps, I don't know if you want to assist me in that whenever the time arrives, but I think that's a good thing moving forward.
That sounds like a good idea. Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. So I have one question, and then I want to ask you just a general COVID question.
Sure.
Just because of, we have a lot of persons when things happen on the island, people tend to, take to social media to talk about it. And TripAdvisor is one of the biggest, I think, media areas that especially non-residents will go to post about island and what's happening. How does the police department handle misinformation that is being spread over social media? Because not everything that is posted is correct. So I'm just trying to know, how do you handle any misinformation that is being posted on social media and other platforms?
Now, you know that a lot of people stand behind the belief of free speech, but we often tell people with free speech you have to be responsible, because with the use of social media now, things get out there very fast. We have a public relations department who deals with responding to persons who say things that are not is based, that rumor, right, that is not correct. We have our public relations team who deals with stuff like that. Also, websites like TripAdvisor, from time to time, I can't say how often it is monitored by our public relations team, but from time to time we will respond to them and give the correct answer. And I know that there are times when the U.S. Embassy will issue caution to persons traveling to Turks and Caicos Islands, and some of these caution are very harsh as it relates to our country. They make it seem as if the country is unsafe.
Right.
But again, I always say this: we are the safest Caribbean country in the region. Mm-hmm. And I told you about the murder rates that have already happened in places like the Bahamas and Jamaica, which is in our region. And I'm not picking on these two countries, but it's facts. It is what's happening compared to the Turks and Caicos Islands with one murder for the year. Again, I'm not saying that we should be happy about it, because one murder is too much. Right. But we try our best to respond. I think the Ministry of Tourism and the governor's office, in collaboration with the Commission of Police, they also have a responsibility of responding to these major countries, especially when they put out caution to their populace. Now, you got to understand that they're trying to protect their populace as well. But I agree that the counter response to that is to remind people that we have the lowest crime rate, and some of the things that are being said is not accurate. So yeah, we do respond from time to time.
To those. Okay. Right.
Mhm.
And last but by no means least, I just want to say if there's any additional questions, because we're getting to wrap up the show, please use this opportunity to post it at this time. With COVID that is happening, what are some of the protocols, I would just say, in relations to dealing with police officers, if I may ask? So, for example, if a police officer stop you, what are things you as a person, as a citizen, should know to look out for, to do, when being approached by police during this COVID time?
Yes, glad you asked that question. Yeah, COVID has really affected us drastically. I think last week you may have heard we lost one of our police officers. So
Yeah.
we want people to continue to follow the protocol rules, to adhere to the measures that are put in place. If a police officer stop you, please only approach him if he asks you to. Wear your mask as soon as a police officer stop you. Don't make it difficult. It might not be a case where a police officer have to do an arrest, but because of your actions, because of what you do, or whatever the case may be, that may cause him to have to arrest you, that is not necessary. So adhere to instructions of the officers. Do not put them at risk, because even during this time of a pandemic, we still have to be out there protecting you, protecting the Turks and Caicos Islands. So we have to make sure that our frontline officers are safe. So the way you behave, the way you interact with them is very important to their safety. And I want people to remember to wear a mask, wash your hands, adhere to social distancing, and do the right thing at all times.
Thank you. Well, I will say this. I'm so grateful. Thank you for agreeing to come on the show today. Just to give a brief update about what's happening with crime, and just to share your knowledge about community policing in the Turks and Caicos Islands. It's always good to get some information from the department as to what's going on, initiatives they are putting forward, and have to show that and also to show that the community that you are here to work and partner with them. And I just want to just say a big thank you to the police department, on behalf of, I'll say, even the citizen of the Turks and Caicos, those who agree with policing and those who do not. Because the thing about it is, you guys are, like you say, on the front line trying to keep us safe day by day. We all have our personal opinion about what happens, but it's always good to show respect where respect is due, give credit where credit is due. And I applaud you guys, the police department, for all your efforts that you are putting forward in the community. And I look forward to seeing more of the policing efforts that are happening, the community policing, and looking forward to be a part of it. And again, I thank you for the information, even with the Crime Stoppers that you have shared with us. I think is very valuable for us to know today. So if there's anyone out there that would like to, say something, there is always Crime Stoppers, that link between the police department to help to achieve crimes. And I'll give you this one last opportunity to say any closing remarks before we complete the show.
Yes, our community policing model is building safer communities, one community at a time. We can achieve this. We can build safer communities. Persons, when you hear incidents occurred in a community, it's either persons living in the community doing it, well, someone in the community committing it, or someone from the outside. Therefore, if a community have 100 members in it, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons who are committing these crimes, we need to get rid of them. We need to deal with them. We cannot allow a few persons make us feel unsafe in our own communities, in our own homes. It is we have to take a stand. We either sit down and watch things happen until it happened to one of us and we become the victim of crime, or we stand up against it before it happened. And like you said, Vernica, all of us have our own reasons behind certain things, why we do and why we do not do certain things. But you need to think about your safety and your family's safety. We cannot allow just a handful of people make us feel unsafe, and live a life of fear in our own communities. So please, hit me up, send me an email, kevin.clark@tcipolice.tc. Let us have a discussion. If you don't have a neighborhood watch group, hit me up and let us discuss how we can get it going. And let me tell you about the importance of a neighborhood watch group. You can also Google it.
Thank you so much. So thank you once again, and I appreciate you coming on the show. And I just want to say to all those who are listening out there, thanks for joining us live on our Facebook page, Real Estate with Vernica Delancey, for Let's Talk TCI Real Estate. And so until our next show, I will say to you as usual, stay safe and remain blessed. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this show belong solely to Let's Talk TCI Real Estate and not that of Keller Williams TCI or any of its affiliates. Any action you take upon the information provided on this show is strictly at your own risk, and Let's Talk TCI Real Estate guest or host will not be liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of the material. I am not an investment advisor, broker, or dealer.